How's it going, guys? I'm here to review Leatherface 2017.
You trying to make us crash?
You want me to stop?
What is it?
I don't know.
So Leatherface 2017 is the prequel to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 1974. So the plot for this film revolves around the origin of Leatherface, aka Jebediah Sawyer, and his family, his cannibalistic family. The movie starts out with him as a kid. He's perfectly normal as it seems, but of course the family captures an intruder that's trying to take away their farming food or whatever, right? But the mother of the house forces Jebediah to grab the chainsaw and to kill the intruder, but he refuses. Like, he doesn't want to become like his family members, so of course the family members or the whole family gets disappointed and they just kill the guy anyways. So that happened, and so it cuts back to another scene where you have to 1955, two teenagers driving in the street of Texas road, doesn't say where, but they're driving, and then they didn't see a Jebediah Sawyer, but he has like a mask on, of course. And of course it's a little creepy, but the chick, she's still dumb enough to follow him because Jebediah Sawyer says, "Oh, something's wrong, follow me." Of course you would follow a kid with a creepy mask, like that makes sense. And as she's following Jebediah, it was a trap by the Sawyer family, the two brothers, Drayton and Nubbins. They kill her, and that's when things starts to get a conflict between the Sawyer family and Stephen Dorff. Stephen Dorff plays a sheriff, which is really badass. Stephen Dorff, he was in other horror films such as The Gate when he was a kid. Of course, he played Deacon Frost, the villain of Blade, the movie.
Okay, now, make a wish. You ready for your present?
So Sheriff Hartman has conflict between the Sawyer family for getting his daughter killed, of course. So ever since then, that his daughter's been killed, he took away Jebediah Sawyer to a mental facility or a mental hospital with other patients that are unstable. So years later, Verna Sawyer wants to come back to see her son, wants to see him again, but of course, the doctor of the one who's in charge of the whole mental facility, he says, "No, you're not going to see your son. He's not going to be near you." Of course, she gets pissed, and that's when she fucks everything up. She slaps the nurses. She gets her keys, and that's when all the crazies are set loose. And of course, I mean, she didn't get to see her son because one of the securities, they had to escort out of the facility. But of course, as that's happening, the patients are killing pretty much doctors, nurses, everyone. It's like it's a chaos. It's chaos in the hospital, pretty much. So now teenage Jebediah Sawyer, he's not a kid anymore. Now he's a teenager because the rest of the film takes place now in 1965. And of course you meet other characters such as Bud and other crazy patients. There's a couple that kind of reminded me of that movie Natural Born Killers. That's what the couple, I forgot their characters' names, but that's what they reminded me of. But so those two characters, Bud and Jebediah, four of them, they get a nurse with them. So pretty much they're taking the main nurse as hostage. They escape, and then from their point, they go place to place to place to find a place to hide from the sheriff, of course, because the sheriff's he's on a rampage. He's on a revenge to get all these fuckers out, pretty much.
What are you talking about?
I'll take all yours, Verna. All of them. The state of Texas instituted an endangered child care program. Keeping them here is safer for everyone.
So Sheriff Hartman, Stephen Dorff, he's like one of those crooked cops that if he gets his hands on these patients, these criminals, that justice will be served. So he's that type of guy. And the reason why I say this movie kind of reminded me of Natural Born Killers, because that couple, man, they just be killing everyone in their path, and they do not give a fuck. Literally, like there's a scene where they're in a hideout, or they're like hiding in an abandoned RV like trailer with all the other characters, of course. They're literally like having sex in the bed with a decomposed body. Yes, they're having sex with a decomposed body. And as she's, getting pounded from the back, she's literally licking the dead body, which is kind of disgusting. And I can tell might be a little offensive and uncomfortable for viewers. So if you don't want to watch that, then probably skip that scene. But that's why the couple dynamic, they're just so crazy and they kill people. They just remind me of natural born killers. And yeah, that's pretty much the plot in a nutshell. Sheriff Hartman, which is played by Steven Dorff, is trying to catch these kids one by one, and eventually it does lead to Leatherface's origin that we know and love, and how he became the chainsaw mass murderer that we know and love. So what did I think of this movie? Honestly, the first time I watched it, I was really, really disappointed. I felt underwhelmed of how bad the movie I thought it was, and then I watched it for the second time. It got a little better because I knew what to expect, but at the same time, I was still pretty disappointed. So now I watched it recently for the third time. It's all right. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's certainly not a good Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. This is still one of the weaker entries in the franchise, but it is at least a little bit like original and a little darker than the last movie that I reviewed, Texas Chainsaw 3D. You can tell, like, I don't know, like Texas Chainsaw 3D, they were trying so hard to make it like a good sequel, but in the end, it just turned out to be like a I don't know, like a fun house type of like. The movie didn't take the source material seriously. That's what I gotta say. But for this movie, you can tell they tried to take the whole Texas Chainsaw Massacre lore, the source, seriously, but with a little like different twist, if that makes sense. But did it execute well? No, it didn't. It didn't execute well at all. But at least it tried doing so.
I want every cop from here to New Mexico on the lookout. This is evil. He's putting down.
And I could say the special effects in this movie is way better than the Texas Chainsaw 3. You can tell this movie has more of that authentic blood, fake blood, of course. But yeah, just more like practical makeup, special effects, no CGI blood whatsoever, which is really dope. And if you think about it, this movie is pretty violent. I mean, yeah, it is pretty violent, and I think this is the one that has the most sex in any other Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. So that says a lot, but at the same time, it's still not really like good if you compare it to the other greats. I mean, of course, it's better, in my opinion, it's slightly better than Texas Chainsaw 3D, and it's definitely better than the Next Generation with Matthew McConaughey, but that's really it. All the other movies is still better than this. It's better than the Next Generation. It's better than Texas Chainsaw 3D. The reason why I'm not really feeling it still is because it just doesn't feel like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. Yes, if you include the family, or actually no, if you remove the family out of this movie, the Sawyer family, this does not feel like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie whatsoever. If you remove the whole Sawyer family in this movie, it totally it could be like just another like movie about natural born killers, if that makes sense, or a natural born killers copycat or ripoff of a movie. But technically, this is still a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie because this is a prequel to it. This is Leatherface's origins. This is why it's named Leatherface. But to me, it just does not feel like a Leatherface or a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. It just feels entirely different. Like, even the plot that I described, it's different, yes. But did it execute well in the end? It's like, no, it didn't. So I would give this movie a 6 out of 10. It's slightly better than Texas Chainsaw 3D. Even though Texas Chainsaw 3D, don't get me wrong, it's a bad movie. It still had fun, but you can tell this movie, they were trying to be more serious with this movie. So that's why I gave this movie a 6 out of 10. And this was my quick review of Leatherface 2017. Please leave a like, subscribe, and leave a comment. And I'll see you guys in the next one.
You show 'em who you are.